Okay, so this actually was a request by Chantel, and if she's up to it, I would like you to ask the questions, at least initially, to get us going on this discussion. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think so.
Okay.
So I was interested in how everyone in their studio does motivates their students to practice and including or just like whatever you do to motivate your kids or your students. And then what your kind of your standards are for or expectations for your student and how you enforce those, like such as like practice minutes or um, how often you have recitals or things like that. It might be a lot to ask, but I was curious what everyone did and how they did that for their students.
Okay, so let's start with one of those questions. And this is, how about an easy one? Let's say, what are your expectations for practice in each of your studios? And we'll just go from person to person and see what their expectations are. I don't know if everybody's screen looks the same as me, but maybe we'll start with Tabea, who in me is the bottom right, and then we'll move up.
All right. As for practice, I have like a minimum, I say 20 minutes per day, 5 days a week, just to see that there is a commitment. Even if you are tired, well, you do not perform that well, but just to be committed, because I do the same with language teaching. I see so many excuses like I have no talent and so on. That's not true. If you have constance, you will go forward, and that is like the minimum, because it's not only the money they have to invest, they have to invest the time, and if they don't have that, I feel like, yeah, I'm like a robber. I mean, I can share my time with you, but I prefer to share with more motivated students. So that's my approach.
Okay. Chantel?
I have really young students, so it depends on the age of the student. But I oftentimes find that kids, it's just getting them on the piano to begin with. And then they'll spend as much time as they can. And depending on the age, sometimes it surprises me how long they spend on the piano. So instead of giving them a time frame, I kind of give them a goal of how many days a week to practice. And then really work on practice streaks. I love practice streaks. And so if I can get them going on a practice streak, it seems like that really helps them to stay consistently practicing. But I have wondered if I need to be a little bit more strict on my time frame, because some kids take advantage and they're just there for a minute or two. But some of my kids, that's all I need is just to know that how many times a week they practice, and they'll practice plenty of time.
Can I make a question regarding the practice streak? Because this is something challenging for me with some of my students, even for myself. We are here in a farming area, and there are days we are really from sunlight to sunlight in the field, and you will not do anything productive. I mean, you can put your piano on and play 5 minutes just to have to keep the practice streak, but that's not the approach I'm looking for. And the problem from the practice streak is you lose it if you're not playing one day. So, but I mean, the 5 times a week is also in this direction, actually.
I know I've heard this request in the Facebook group, and so it's probably in the log of Piano Marvel requests to be considered, of having eh, some variation of the practice streak that says out of how many days did you
Yeah, like an
practice, and kind of
average or
having
so.
a score
Yeah.
from that. Um, I know I read, what's that habit book by James Clear?
Atomic
Um,
Habits. Is it Atomic
Atomic
Habits?
Habits.
Oh,
Yeah, I read that book, and I know he talked about the power of streaks, and but I have run across the same thing with my students, that like one of my students is in a planting season, and they have a big garden, and it's like their time is really heavily invested into that right now. And so having a practice streak is really kind of out of the question. And so, and I have other students who are like, when I sit down, I really want to put in the time. I don't want to, I can't really get into it if I'm just doing a little bit. So I think that both are really effective, but for different people in different circumstances. Because with Atomic Habits, he was saying, man, if you can do this for like a month, just I think, what is it, 2 minutes a day? Is that what it is? I think
It's
that's
just
what it
like,
is.
it's just actually like one lady that I heard speak about it from Alfred. I'm not cheating on you guys, but there's a smart music professional development meeting that, you know, okay, all right. I was cheating on a little bit. I was sneaking around. She said that, you know, she was trying to do push-ups, and some days if she just like laid on the floor and had her like little moment, and you know, she was aware of her body, and she did a little bit of stretching, and she like lifted up, and she felt like it wasn't going to be a good day for a push-up because her back was feeling bad, she was still there, and she was still doing the ritual of her goal. So I don't know. I know what you're saying, Tabea, because you don't want people to be, oh yeah, I did it, and they just you know, just you just feel like saying, don't waste my time sometimes. But yeah, I think it's better for me if I sit and do something, because any memory jogging for me is good, is good
Yeah, I think
times.
I think the way he talks about it is a something like a stimulus, and I think an example he gives is, say you want to start running every day, you just put on your shoes. You don't even
Yeah.
go.
Okay,
Just put on your shoes.
that's a bit.
And he actually, right? He
Mm.
actually says you actually force yourself to not go. Like just put on your shoes. And that creates this cue. Oh, that's the word.
Yeah.
That becomes a habit, and then you move from there into longer and longer times. But anyway, all I was saying is, although there's power in that for sure for creating habits, there are people where it just doesn't work for them to be able to have the streak concept, and so they do better putting in larger chunks on specific days
Actually,
that they can.
I fully agree with what you have said, both. By the way, Karen, you look gorgeous today. Sorry for
Plus,
the others,
thank
which
you.
is
That's
really.
what I'm going for.
uh,
Thank
and
you.
there is also a point I'm fighting against, because I have one student, and I see that sometimes he hasn't that motivation. And instead of doing all these 5 days, 20 minutes on the weekend, he does like 2 hours to get all the hours missing to say, okay, but I did it, you know. And I mean, that's better than nothing, but that's not the objective neither. I think that the practice is very important, and I agree with you on that. Just if we had a tool to not like hurt those people who really cannot on some days, that would be cool.
Yeah,
I
that
agree.
would. Okay, Karen Faye, I know you were just talking, but what are your expectations?
Oh, my expectations are different for each student, because I have, you know, I have one that their family is very, very supportive, and they will sit down when they get home from school, and like they have to go to their piano. Their parents have been, you know, have sort of made it that way. Um, and they do like a half an hour a day. They get a half an hour minutes a day, just because that's what they do until their mom gets home, right? They're old enough to be at home by themselves until their mom gets home from work, and that's what they're, and she looks for the minutes. So with a family like that, I'm like all about, you know, let's stay in there until you got those 30 minutes, you know, like, and then we can up your goal if you think you can pull it off, or you know, days that they do more than the goal that we set, it's like a hell of a celebration. But it's different for everyone. Mostly I just say, you know, leave your instrument out. You know, if I have a guitar or a cello student too, like just don't put it away, have your music up and ready to go. When you walk by, I don't know, play something, and then you will notice that you're getting better. And they usually notice. They're like, I sound so good on this, let me show you. And then I don't have, then my work's done.
You know, that's actually another, apparently I'm going to talk about Atomic Habits. That's
Yeah,
another
it's a good book.
principle from Atomic Habits, is to make it very accessible. So I have a student who actually has to move her keyboard. It's on wheels, but she has to move it and plug it into her device in order to play. And I have found that that is enough of a deterrent
Yes,
that
I agree.
she has a little bit of resistance to practicing. Whereas if the keyboard is automatically set up to go, and if for those who have Bluetooth, amazing, the device is ready to go so that they don't have those obstacles to practice. Same concept, right? It's there, it's in front of you, and it's where you like to practice, especially distraction wise, right?
It's worse for guitar and violin and cello because they're like, my fingers hurt. So, and I'm not making fun of their fingers hurting. I'm just saying there's a time frame when, only a few minutes is, 5 minutes at a time is good. But if they don't touch it again for the rest until the next day, their fingers are not going to get any better. Not really a piano thing, but
Right.
go ahead.
Any string
Yeah,
instrument.
any string. Yeah.
Okay, Evelyn?
Uh, One thing I would mention in encouraging the practice, asking for the 5 days, um, is to bring up in Piano Marvel the sight reading section. And if they don't feel like doing much, at least minimum 10 minutes, easy stuff. So all you're playing is C, C. I mean, I think using the sight reading tool is very helpful in you're doing something. So back to that idea of doing something. And I really like the sight reading tool. They can go at whatever level they feel, if they feel challenged, or if they don't feel challenged today and feel droopy, they're still going to go in and do something. And eventually you'll get them to challenge themselves. And then hopefully that'll lead into the work that you're asking them to work on. But
So, sorry, Evelyn, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just going to ask you for clarification. When you said the sight reading tool, are you talking about the Sasser?
no, not the Sasser's good. I like to ask for Sasser at least 5 days a week. No, I'm talking about sight reading. There's the sight reading
Samurai.
at different levels.
Samurai.
And if they just want to go into the sight reading for a low level and they're a higher level in their skills, still just ask them to spend 10 minutes a day in sight reading someplace.
And the challenges are amazing for that too. They're
Oh,
essentially
yeah.
all mostly sight reading challenges.
Oh yes, oh yes. Now I just love this sight reading challenge this month. But doing something, and that's back to some of your other concepts you're talking about. But I love the sight reading tool. If I can get them to do Sasser daily, I work on that too. But that sight reading tool is just, I think, really cool because you can, if you're feeling down today and you don't, at least they're there, they're engaged, they're working on music, and that often it stimulates them on into something else, and then they go and find their pieces and start working on them.
But what I realized with the sight reading tool, this is really good for motivation in the sense that it came like natural that I made some comments when my students always achieved 100% on a sight reading, and they said, "Wow, I made 100%." And I said, "Oh, then it's too easy for you. That's not your level." And they feel so boosted, like, "Oh, that's not my level," like And they want to achieve, they want to reach where they get almost the 80%, and they know now I'm at my level. Let's see where my level is. So yeah, it's really
Yeah. Oh man, and there's so much motivation in that leveling for a lot of for me, and I know these are arbitrary. They're not, but where on the side of the Sasser it says if you get to this level, that's about a beginning piano teacher. This is about a master student. Like those are benchmarks for me. I'm like, ooh, I'm equivalent to this, like
They're
moving
not
in those directions.
completely arbitrary. I actually found, including the criteria, Piano Marvel is officially using in some blogs. They are mentioning that, and I try to refine them, but they are not always applied very exactly, and not in my case. I do it like more or
Right,
less.
right. Yeah, exactly.
Sight reading is one of the most arbitrary, hilarious. It's hilarious. It's been, when before the Sasser, how were people actually evaluating music when in the
Oh
sight reading
yeah,
portions of exams? I'll tell you, because from the director of Conservatory Canada, he was like, people just kept getting worse at reading, so we just kept giving them lower music.
Yeah.
And because we couldn't stand to listen to them struggle, and so
That's how we
like
do
that's the
PISA studies.
yeah, it's like, but now with the Sasser, there's actually, you can set those goals, and you can
yeah.
do so
Well,
much
and
more.
the process they went through to grade everything was pretty extensive. Like it's probably the most impressive sight reading grading system out there. So well, I say arbitrary, but like I just mean those categories on the left that are like, this is a beginning piano teacher or whatever. Michelle could probably say more on this as far as like, yeah.
Yeah, they set them as like they did like a survey, not a survey, but like took the data from different people who took the Sasser and said, okay, well, these are intermediate students are, they're averaging this, and these advanced students are averaging this, doctoral students are averaging. So it's sort of arbitrary. It kind of comes from like a data set, but it's not like it was like a randomized trial either, so it's not like super accurate. So yeah, it's kind of just like, this is generally where you should be at or where you should be shooting for, so don't take it super seriously.
But it's great to have
It's
a
a great,
mark
yeah, a
to
great
shoot
goal for
for,
sure.
because
I have
that
to
is very
defend
important.
it because I was researching on this topic too, and because I do all the grading for all the other study topics we have at our learning community, and I wanted that for practicing music as well. And I think Piano Marvel is one of the best grading techniques. If you look what others have, it's like, yeah, if you can play Haydn, you have this level, and if you can play Mozart, and you think, yeah, which piece of Mozart?
Right.
How quick? And
Weird.
it's like it's really difficult. We haven't thought a lot about that in music so far, I feel.
I think Aaron and those guys were probably amongst the first to really put it together in any way that's
Scientific.
it's standardized, right? It's standardized, so everybody does everybody does the same things to get the same mark, and it never ever happened before. I'm actually putting slowly but surely, I'm putting different conservatory curricula through, so you'll be able to see. And typically all the conservatories would agree that playing sight reading 2 grades down from your playing level is like your magic sight reading number
And another
level.
thing that most people who start using the sight reading tools in Piano Marvel, I know we've kind of segued a little, but who use the sight reading tools in Piano Marvel is they can't cheat, meaning the tempo specifically. Like when I sight read, I for sure cheat in good ways, meaning it's within the chordal pattern. Nobody knows I'm cheating, I can play, and I think that's a good skill to have. But as far as like true sight reading, this will give you real honest feedback of notes, rhythms, and tempo. Whereas like I was using 4-star sight reading with my students before, and they would play super slow or have pauses here or there, or so grading them was pretty challenging because of all of those
I
aspects.
had to give him a really bad mark, but we don't. We don't
No,
do that, right? So then how do they?
Their psyche is part of the process.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, like if you were to be objective about like, hearing some sight reading, you'd be like,
well, and
we're
also
starting at about a 15.
a
Go ahead.
powerful thing about Piano Marvel, and I know I'm going off, but is that it's not a teacher telling you need to fix things. It's objective feedback. So you don't personalize it. It's like,
Yep.
oh, okay, it's a computer who told me. Like, it's not like somebody doesn't
Well,
like me because I didn't do
I
well
love
enough.
most.
You know?
I'm the good
Yeah.
guy. The
I-
piano,
right.
That's
Yeah,
one of
because
my
Nasty
favorite things
computers.
about it.
that software is giving such low punctuation. And I can say, okay, but I can show you how you can improve. And
Yeah, you're the
Yeah.
hero.
You're the superhero
Good
coming to the
cop,
rescue.
bad cop.
Totally.
That was a really nice transition for me with Piano Marvel. So thank you. Okay, Carrie.
My approach is pretty similar to what Karen Faye said. It's pretty different per student. Like I have one that's quite advanced and she'll sit down and play for 45 minutes most of the time. And so for her, it's just more, we've talked about goals at the beginning of the year and kind of, working towards that. Whereas I have another student who has ADHD. And so for him to sit down for 10 minutes at a time, we're working up to 10, 15 minutes, which, and then as he's doing it, and now he's so proud of himself that he's willing to actually sit down. And most of the time, right? Some days it doesn't work because it's a bad day, and so be it. But I mean, the overall goal is to be at least 20 minutes. That would be what I would say. But yeah, I feel like I have to kind of be flexible according to their motivation as well as their level.
I have the best article for you. Adaptive learning and teaching, music learning and teaching applications are
that the
more
one-
successful for ADHD students.
Is
I'm
this the
gonna send it
article
to you.
in the newsletter?
No.
Oh, there's an excellent article by Karen Faye in the newsletter, isn't it? Okay, I still have to read it, but I've heard all the praises about it. It's a really good article.
No, it's nothing to do with ADHD in there, but it's the same,
Okay.
like those, like Piano Marvel is an ideal example. So I'm going to send that to you now. Okay, I'm muting. No more talk.
Okay.
Just the built-in challenges that they offer too is enough for him. So like this the whole setup. Like I told him when he started my student that has some attention issues. It's like your video game. It's like, so once you earn something, you move up to the next level. So we do the level up section all the time. And so it's just the motivation there too is part of what's helped him want to practice, right? So it's just the very setup of it. It's not his mom telling him to practice, and it's not me. It's the game.
Okay.
So it's perfect. It's great.
Okay, cool. Anne Hansen? I know we don't see her picture. Is she there is the question.
I'm coming.
Okay.
Hi. Here I am. I am not good at this subject. I just appreciate so much your ideas. I kind of shoot for the 5 days a week, and that's what I tell my students and tell their parents, and try to get them to do the practice streak of 5 days. And also I give them the benchmark of 20 minutes. But my parents are not motivated. Any little thing that comes up, they just, or maybe it's the students, I don't know. I just really struggle having them have any sort of success. I have a program where I give them little money and pay them with piano dollars for every minute that they practice. And if they practice 50 minutes in 1 week, they can make my leaderboard. And that is so pathetic, 50 minutes in a week. But they struggle to do it. And then they can shop in the store. If they do that, plus they pass off 3 songs in Piano Marvel. I'm trying to get them to move through the levels. Most of them are in level 1 or level 2. So 3 songs per week is very doable. Anyway, just would love to know how you communicate
You already
with
have
your
like a
parents,
massive
get the parents
system going on.
Do you
Oh,
know
what?
why they are learning the piano? Because I had a similar issue with a certain type of of English learners, and well, now I just don't take them. I just lifted my price and they will not come anymore, because I had a type of parents, they just wanted their kids 2-3 hours per week somewhere safe, occupied and not bothering parents. And I don't have time to teach people like that. Because we have other teachers who do that. And I say, okay.
No, it's not you. It's not you. It's not you. If they are taking your money, girl, you got to have a heart to heart with those parents.
More
Send
of
it
their
to
money.
me.
That's what I was
Don't
going to
send
say. I
any.
think you need to take more of their money.
I do.
Yeah, I think taking more of their money is a good start.
I mean, I don't know. But.
Would a tournament help? Would a tournament help, like a studio against another studio? And you could be like, guys, you cannot let me down. Get your butt in the stool. Okay.
That's
we'll talk
a fun
after.
idea. Yeah.
And the time is not the goal. I mean, we speak about goals, and perhaps that's not fully true. The time is the bottom line. I mean, what we do in this time, this goal is usually set by my students. So what would you like to learn? Do you want to improve more on technique, or do you want to learn a piece you like very much? And what does it need to get there? Sometimes they want something very difficult, and you have to say, okay, that will not be possible now, but we can train this and this skills, and perhaps in 3 months you can achieve that. Something in this direction helps quite also get their interest.
Yeah,
I'm writing that down. I like that idea, to let them kind of decide what they want to accomplish.
Okay, and Q?
So at first I thought, I don't have anything to say because I don't do anything. And then I realized it's all been done for me. So in both Let's Play Music and in Bridge, which is one of their courses too, we have assignment sheets where they check things. And they make, you can see these little tick marks here. So everything in the assignment is listed out. And there's even a place for parent initials, and they write down how many times they did each thing. I'm so used to that system, I just have never done anything else. What I do is I notice I notice what they've done, and with the littler kids, I count up all the little marks and I write down, you had 100 marks this time, or 59 or whatever. I write it in my book so that they know that somebody's noticing it. I'm thinking maybe I should expand this idea to my kids that are no longer in these planned curriculums, because it gives them a exact, precise, you should do this and this and this and this and this, and then mark how many times you did it. I'm thinking maybe I should do that. That might be helpful. Okay.
I think so too.
Partially, we have that in Piano Marvel integrated. I mean,
I'm just pulling that.
And you can see how you progress if they use it in this way. Depends how they use Piano Marvel.
There's something like that in Piano Marvel where they can mark.
Yeah.
Their. Tell me.
If you download the PDF of each level, the first couple of pages are a checklist of the curriculum and the pieces, just like there would be in the beginning of Piano Adventures or Alfred or Hal Leonard. They have a really good. I'm blabbing and I need to just stop and find it for you. You guys, as you were. Sorry.
So you're going to share your screen, Karen Faye?
Yeah, I can find it now,
Okay,
because
yeah.
I have it all in my music library. Oh my goodness, Gwen, how's it going?
I'm just realizing that somehow I missed Jennifer. Did you pop in and out of the meeting at some point?
Yes, I did.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm like, I was going on the screen from person to person, and then I just looked back and I'm like,
Anne.
wait, what just happened?
There's Anne's got it. Anne can do it. She's more organized than I am.
Oh, so there you just write in your score and your date. Yeah.
Yeah.
I see what it
It's
is.
such a good idea.
Here we
Because
can.
if you have that printed off, and they can, it's a really good visual snapshot of how much is done, and you can have the parents sign. And
Where can I find that?
That's a little bit different from the score sheet I'm using, where every little thing you mark how many times you did it. This is when you complete it. Yeah. But this is a general idea of something written down. Yeah.
Yeah, you can find any of the PDFs or in the lesson section in the trophy case, and there's just a link at the top of the trophy case.
right there.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, see that?
Yeah.
Oh, thanks for sharing.
Thank you for sharing in.
My little mini Kim is all ready to go here.
You're so good.
He's
So
our
good.
tech guy.
I know.
Clearly.
Okay, let's hop over to Jennifer, who I somehow skipped.
Hey, hi.
Hi.
Okay, so I'm kind of on the same boat. All my students are at different levels, but one thing I have them do every day is I have them do a sasser. And then I have them work on their method, their technique, and then whatever fun songs that they want to do. They love getting the golden tickets. They are obsessed with getting the golden tickets. Last month I did something fun. I told all my kids, I said, I'm going to do a contest, and whoever has the most minutes practiced each day, I'm going to give you $1. So every day I would look and see who had the most minutes. And then I would contact their parents and let them know. And then at the end of the month, they all got $1 for whoever had the most minutes. And Jacob, who hardly ever practices, got $10 because he practiced the most. And I think he practiced over 550 minutes.
Wow.
So the kids asked if they could do that again this month. So I said, okay, I can do it one more month, but I think we might have to stop after that. So we're doing it one more month, and all of my students are, I mean, I'm really impressed. And they're contacting me. I'm number one. Am I number one? I'm like, I don't know. I'll have to tell you tomorrow.
Yeah,
So
you
they're
announce the minutes the next day. This is actually a
yes.
strategy I'm interested in.
Mhm. Well, I
currently.
just contact the parents the next day. I'm like,
Right.
guess what? Your child got to this many minutes today. And they're like, okay,
Very
I'll tell
cool.
them.
So where do you think the real is more of the motivation to be number one, or is it to get something?
I think it's to get something.
You think so?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
And
If
not
it's
for
$1,
not for everyone. Not for everyone. You know, the ones that want to get something, they're like, what do you got? And then they'll decide then if they're going to participate. But the people that want to do it, they're like, oh, I want to sound good. That's I have both of them, the intrinsic and extrinsic. Very rarely does an extrinsically motivated child exist at like 5, 6, 7. They're like, where's that treasure box? You know what I mean?
What I
Yeah.
can see,
Yeah.
most of my students are gamers, so they play
Mm.
video games in
Mm-hmm.
online environments, and they know very well that you can cheat and that you can hack and that you can buy points.
Yeah.
So I feel that they are not so much in getting most of the points, but getting the most they could get. Like, yeah, let me see now, because they see like there are 200,000 players anyway. I'm starting already, and yeah, they do not expect to be the first, but they want to be better than the last time, and they
Yeah.
like the golden tickets. And I think the only thing that could improve that, if you could change these golden tickets for a better avatar or something, because they spend all their money in online games to improve their avatar.
Yeah, that's so true.
Which is very
It's
difficult for
through
me to
upgrading
understand.
equipment. Oh my goodness.
Which
Even
is
my
so funny, you're
husband's
right.
grown man, you know, and he shows me his characters and he's like, look at this wolf. It's like got really big muscles, and check out my shield. And then when I press this, I have like a sidekick.
Yeah, and if it's a
very-
famous
there's a
Marvel
whole,
figure or something, even more.
there's something to that. We should look into it.
Well, and another thing that I've been doing over the last 20 years is if they practice 5 days, I give them a quarter, and I have a quarter machine that has 3 different slots. So they get a quarter every week. And then my husband makes 3D printer stuff. And so if they practice 5 days for 4 weeks, then they get something out of the 3D printer box. So,
Oh, wow.
So I think I should speak up here. 'Cause I might be the only one here, but I've been always in the camp of intrinsic motivation is enough. That the kid being able to play something that was hard that they couldn't do is its own reward. And the last 10 years I've been teaching, I have never had reason to doubt that. That a child
So
who
true.
can do something that they couldn't do yesterday, that they thought was hard a week ago, so I have never used And even though they're recommended in my program, I've never used the treasure boxes and the little, awards and stuff like that. And that's just where I am at. That's me. So I just thought I'd
Yeah.
share that in case somebody else is of that nature also.
I think,
Well,
Anne,
That's actually what
Absolutely.
sorry.
I was gonna say, I think, Anne, you do a lot of Let's Play music, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
So the thing that's nice about Let's Play music is it's a short period of time. So they kind of don't get to that burnout stage because they're like, oh, I'm going to be done with this soon. Oh, it's only a month more or whatever. So you have it in semesters while after Let's Play music, when they're with a piano student or like a regular piano teacher, it's all year long. So where I'm fighting burnout, right? Like, how do I keep these kids going when they feel like this is never going to end type thing?
yeah, that leads
Well,
right
Switching to
into
semesters.
But I do have at least five or 10 kids that are past Let's Play music that I'm doing as private students. And I'm still doing the same thing. It's the fun of they get to play something that they thought they couldn't play, I just,
Actually,
Yeah, that's
I was
amazing.
trying to say the same thing like Anne, but perhaps, yeah, in gaming, because I'm a gamer too. So you feel somebody's a hacker, and perhaps they have more points, but you say, yeah, but he doesn't know to kill zombies. Like he's nobody. Because it's all about killing zombies and monsters and these kind of things. So at the end, in piano, it's the same. I mean, they are not looking only at the points, at least not my students, because they know there are many tricks and perhaps they have more time, more money, whatever. But at the end, it depends what I can make and what I can make with the
Right.
music and what the music gives me back. And I feel that that works, because at the end, it's can I play or can I not?
yeah.
okay, I think we're to me. Did I miss anyone?
So I just want to add one more thing to that. So when
Okay.
I meet with the parents at the beginning of the year, I tell them this is my philosophy. Those of you who have children who need extrinsic motivation, please handle that at home. Give your kid a reward for practicing or for whatever it is you need to do. You decide that with your children. I will not do that in my studio. And that's how I handle that.
Great. Nice.
awesome.
I like it.
That's actually a really good idea.
Yeah.
Um,
Just say it.
so, okay, so I've actually thought about this a lot because although I've taught for a couple decades now, I have moved so many times that the students I've never had for more than like a year or two.
Wow.
And so that excitement is there, because I don't have them that long. So this is kind of a new thing for me to be settled, because when I'm online, it
you're
doesn't
online.
matter where I move. I keep my students if they want to stay with me.
Yeah.
And so I'll share with you. So I'm kind of an experimenter. So I read, you've probably picked up on that. I've read Atomic Habits, and definitely those principles are applied, but I'll kind of share how. So I helped a teacher through the pandemic that her students went online. She just needed help with having them check in. They were in group piano, and so there was no way she could individually check in with all of them. She just had over 200 students. She had a lot of students. So I was helping with that check-in process. And the program that she had is very successful in Austin. They have, kind of like Anne, a sheet that says, this is what you need to accomplish this week, and be ready for group. And in group, you have that motivation of all these people
yeah.
around you as well. And I don't have that as an online teacher, unless you're like Anne, teaching a group online,
I do
right? But what I did notice is I talked to my students and I asked them questions. And one thing that I noticed is the value in knowing exactly what's expected. So what I am actually putting together right now, I'm going to be working with Karen Fay and Ann Hansen. We're all going to guinea pig it out. And essentially what I'm doing is saying, if you do this plan, this day 1, this day 2, this day 3, you can expect this result by day 30. So
This is a very important point.
yeah, so
Yeah.
and of course students are going to be like, I can't do that every day, but the thing is they know to get that result, however long it takes them, these are the steps to get to that result. And so, but then I can also tell them it takes an average student approximately this many minutes to complete this in a day. So part of my system that I'm experimenting with is this, where I say, because the students, first of all, they want to know what the expectations are, but also I like to set specific goals with them. So if they, in performance, in technique, in practice minutes, in, all these different areas, so they can personalize their experience and break down their goals to have the same kind of experience with their personalized goals. But another thing I'm experimenting with is essentially changing it up. Similar to Let's Play Music, I'm saying, okay, for the month of January, we're going all in on learning musical concepts, on the course, on the method. And but we're going to do something different in February. So you only have January to do this. So it kind of increases their focus to be like, and they're like, oh, there's an end to this. Because what I've noticed is if it goes on and on and on, they just check out. They're just like, oh yeah, I'm going to be doing this all year long. Like, I'm not interested. And the other thing I've noticed is that because the learning in Piano Marvel is so focused, and so it makes it more intense, kind of like gaming, to where, although with gaming you can, a little different in gaming, because anyway, it's a little different in gaming, but what I have found is that the requirement I have for how many minutes they practice has gone down, because they can do more in a short period of time, but also they're kind of worn out quicker because they are so intently focusing that it requires a lot of them to make that much progress that quickly. Although the tool helps them do it, it's kind of intense. It can be. At least that's what I've been experiencing with my students. I'm learning from all of you every week and trying to apply. I can't even keep up with all the things you guys are sharing as far as implementing them, but one at a time I'm trying to implement them. So like for 1 month, I'm going to do, let's focus on learning these new musical concepts, moving through the method books, which for me is the trophy cases, and all of the teaching that goes along with that. The next month is a performance month. We go all in on a performance piece, the musicality, getting that memorized, recording and editing in my studio, because that's how we do our performances. And it's only 1 month they have to focus on that, because what I have found is that if I give students 2 or 3 months to learn a piece, they have to choose a piece that is so hard to keep them busy for 2 or 3 months that they check out, because they're like, oh, this is so hard, They almost always learn their piece in like 2 weeks. And I'm like, okay, we're just going to have the space for learning a performance piece be shorter to avoid burnout, and because they can do it. With Piano Marvel, I've just really had to change how I do everything, because
Yeah, it's a lot more possible now. Like with Piano Marvel, they have that practice assistant. They have someone there that's not someone. They have a device that's helping them know, all those nitty gritty things that we used to get flack for bringing up over and over. You were early. No, listen. No, do it again. No, you listen. It's early. Can you hear it? No. Okay. All right, let's move on. Because if they can't hear it, then, there's only so much, banging on the piano and clapping your hands. And if they've practiced it the wrong way, they've learned it that way. And Piano Marvel just
it just takes
like
care
a
of it.
dry erase. It's like a magic.
Well, on that note, my biggest struggle with my students, and probably a weakness of mine as a teacher, I'm exposing myself, especially after hearing Tabea's like, wow, that was so amazing last week. So great. I really struggled with certain students with rhythm. Piano Marvel has completely solved that for me. I do not struggle with rhythm with my students anymore. They are so... It's so much more effective than what I was doing. I'll just say it that way. Although I would love to incorporate a lot of the integration concepts that you presented last week today. It's just fascinating to me. But so we have 1 month of going into the method And then we have 1 month focused on performance, memorization, recording, editing. It's just 1 month. And then the third month, because I do quarters, the third month is what I'm calling an intensive or an immersive. And that's going all in on a challenge, going all in on a project, going all in. This is what I'm so excited about, having a guest expert come and teach them from their expertise. And my students are really excited about this. So I'm still trying to figure out how to put it in place, but you guys are the ones I'm going to be tapping for this, by the way.
Yeah,
Hopefully
I'm excited
some of you
for
are
this.
interested and would want to do that, but I'll be asking. Anyway, I'm just setting this up, but the idea is what I've noticed with my students is burnout. That they and as far as expectations for practice, I tell them, well, they have this goal, do this, that tells them exactly what to do every single day, but they can do it on what days they want. They can double up, they can, however they want to do it. Or if they don't do it, they understand you didn't reach this goal because you didn't take the time to do what you needed to do. So you're not going to get the same results that these other students will get. But there are students, I have one student in particular who was really struggling. She's the one who has to move her keyboard, plug it in. She was struggling with motivation. And I said, why are you learning how to play piano? And she's like, well, originally it was because I wanted to help in my church and that. She's like, but now they don't need my help. I'm like, you've got to find a new reason. Because you are not going to be motivated to practice if you're just doing something somebody else tells you you need to do. Now, this is adults. Kids, completely different story as far as I can tell. But with the younger students I have, the parents are everything. Like if the parents are supporting the process that we're doing, the students thrive. They do amazing, no matter what. They may go slower if they're not as talented or, if they're not as... if it doesn't come as easily to them, but they make progress, and that's all that they care about. They're happy about making progress. So, but with adults, they have to have their own reason for doing piano, and it has to be really clear for them, or else they feel like they're on somebody else's agenda sometimes. And it's a personality thing. Some love being on someone else's agenda. They're like, tell me what to do. I'm so happy to do it. And that's great. So that's my current approach to practice and expectations. Usually I tell them, you should be able to get through all of the material within 20 to 30 minutes. If you want to do more, you're just going to be ahead of you're going to get to your result faster. And that's great. So that's kind of what
So when you say you do quarters, you do 12 weeks, 12-week semesters times 4. When do you take a break? Burnout. We're talking about burnout here.
You mean for me?
Yeah. You can't do 12 weeks and then another 12 weeks and then another 12 weeks and then another 12 weeks. What?
Well,
48 weeks of lessons?
Well, so I have an online course, I shared. A lot of the work is done behind the scenes. So
That's
I'm
true.
just meeting with them once a week for what I call it a Q&A. They're just whatever questions they have. Now, the month they're doing performance, I'm going to be a lot more involved. There's going to be a lot of Marco Polo, going back and forth saying, show me what you've got. Let me give feedback. But on the month they're going through the course, it's just answering their questions. There's hardly any involvement from me really in that month. In the third month, either I have a guest teacher, so they're taking the bulk of the load, or it's a Piano Marvel challenge. And I mean, fun. Like, I'm the one who wants to do that. Like, I love the challenges. I am a fan. So excited about the tournaments. I hope that becomes a thing because it sounds so fun. What?
I'm working on it. It's next week.
Yes. So
all my kids are gonna love that.
What is next week? Sorry.
You came in a little late. Well,
yeah.
Before
We'll
we
tell
talk
you.
about it, can we have Michelle share if her kids are on board with her sharing right now?
I think they are. I think we're good.
Okay.
You might hear some kitty music in the background and some sneezes. Bless you. But yeah, so I guess it's crucial to remember that I have only a handful of students, so it's a very different approach. Okay, maybe not. Okay. It's a very different approach that I can take to this because I don't have to be so like my process doesn't have to be as organized. I can take it by a very, very individual approach for each of my students. So a few of the things that you guys have said have really resonated with how I do things. I'm really project oriented. I think that just like you were saying, Cami, like the burnout is a thing. If it's something that they're just going to be doing for the next however long they're in piano, then it doesn't, like, there's no sense of urgency. There's no like end goal in sight. So I like to plan, or like at the beginning of the year, we make their goals and then we make a plan for different projects of how to get there and reach those goals. So it's very similar to the way that you're kind of coming up with this new approach, except it's a little bit less organized. So I basically just like, we do whatever is going to help them succeed in the moment. So instead of having it like so set up throughout the year, it's more like, these are the goals. These are some projects that we might want to do. If a project isn't working, we can cut it off immediately and start something new, because the last thing I want is for them to feel like they're not going anywhere or they're not enjoying it. So if something isn't working, we stop and we start something new. That means sometimes that my students are stronger in some areas and weaker in other areas. I try to make them well-rounded, but I find that everyone has the reason that they're wanting to play, and I don't need to turn them into me or like make them what I think a good pianist is. They have their own reason. So as long as we're both on the same page about, and I guess if there's a parent involved, they're a student, if we're all on the same page about what the goals are, then that's the focus, instead of so much like, how many minutes are you practicing, or what song, how many songs did you learn this year, things like that. It's more like, how are we getting to that goal and are you enjoying the process? And I think every teacher has very different types of students and studios and everything. So this is probably not something that will work for everybody. But for me, it does. With the handful of students that I have, they're all so vastly different, because I have children, I have senior citizens, I have adults who are in, busy in the middle of their life with their job and their family. So it's all very different. And what they can give me is very different. So I just try to support them with whatever goal they have. I don't know if that makes sense or helps, but it's very different from a lot of things I've been hearing, just because it's very like kind of fly by the seat of my pants a little bit. So
I think everyone does a bit of that. I think everyone does a bit of like in the moment evaluation. That's a skill like that you have to kind of hone in on that. I mean, it's great to have a framework plan and then be able to improvise when I know I have a lot of students that suffer from anxiety, and more all the time. And I mean, that has to do with the state of the world for sure. However, giving them a little bit of control with your project-oriented approach, I think is actually very, very good, because if they feel like it's their idea, they're in control of it. And, as long as you're not like, you didn't reach your goal, you fail, or, as long as you're treating the project with some kindness, and that they, like Evelyn said, that they love themselves through the project. Then
right, yeah.
Well, and I feel like we're entering a new, I don't know, epoch is the wrong word. Just run with me. I can't
it's a
think of the right
musical
one.
revolution happening right now.
Just because, for example, the challenges, we get to see what other studios are doing and feel a part of that.
Yeah.
That's new. Like that, I guess where you would experience that is festivals or, events type of things. But now we have access to it all the time. And now, like what I'm doing with my studio and inviting experts, like, yeah, in college you have master classes, but for the young, the private studios, not necessarily, but that's a possibility. Like, I guess the possibilities are expanding, and so there's a lot of like change. We're kind of all change makers, in my opinion.
Skype Scientist?
Who?
Skype Scientist is an ONG, and you can ask them. It's called skypescientist.org, I think. I will look for the link and send it to Michelle to share it. or in the Facebook.
Finding
You
it,
can
yeah.
invite a scientist. You can say, we are a class, we are learning this or that, or we just want anybody. And you can meet a scientist, a real scientist who is investigating whatever, nuclear science, biology, music. And yeah, we spent recently an hour with somebody who was doing measurements about rivers. Yeah, fluid measurements and these kind of things. And the children, it was meant to be 20 minutes, and we were there 1.5 hours because everybody really wanted to stay there for so long, including the scientist.
I love it. That's
And
They're
it's
on
this
Patreon.
fun element as well that Michelle mentioned. I think that is something I was a little bit missing. It came through from your speech, Kami, this idea that it must be something that is also enjoyable. Yeah, at the end, it's time of your life, and you should enjoy that as well. Not only, yeah.
Yeah, and actually my program is set up because it's you pay month by month. They can pause their membership. So say they're like, it's growing season, I know I'm not going to be able to be committed this month. They just pause and they return. And that kind of setup has not been common, I guess. But it also, say I'm working on a project that, say it is somebody with a lot of anxiety and the idea of performance, it's just not where they want to go. It's not what they want to do. That is what our studio is doing. So they can either sign up with another teacher to do another project during that month, or they can just take a break, because I want to give them that ability to make those choices. But I work mainly with adults. I just feel like children are a different group to work with, and so it's interesting hearing what everybody does, because they're working with not only different groups but various personalities, and what matters to
Adults,
each person.
I see also your approach very useful. I cannot do that in piano teaching. I feel I have not that much experience, but I do the same with language teaching, to tell them quite exactly how much it takes in time and in effort, and what they should learn to achieve their goal. And then it's like up to them. I mean, they can say, okay, I have other priorities, more important things, I leave it for later. But they know if they do that, they will achieve that. And that's the main reason I have students in English, because they know that I'm right. I mean, I never fail. Sometimes I say, probably you will not achieve it as they achieve it, but I will never tell you, you need 300 hours and then you will not achieve it. So
Yeah, that results thing, I think, is kind of
that helps. Yeah.
a big deal. Chantel, let's see. I am like in a weird view where I can't see everyone. There you are. Okay. Karen Faye is kind of like this too. I have a hard time talking to somebody if I can't see them. I feel like I'm in some alternate reality. Was there anything you were hoping to learn about that we did not address?
Well, I mean, it always makes you spark all sorts of questions, right? But this was a wonderful discussion. I really liked it. I would love to have some follow-up questions, but due to time, I feel like I'm well fed and made lots of notes.
So far, Chantel is the only one who's added to the forum, which means we're going to just start making up presentations and discussions unless you guys put something in there. Okay. So is it easy to find? Has anybody had difficulty finding the forum?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pinned right on the Facebook group, the teachers group. It's like pinned as one of the top posts. So It should be pretty easy for people to find.
Maybe
that kind of sounded like a threat, but it wasn't.
On the...
Yeah, thank you, Karen Faye.
So Karen Faye was going to talk about the tournament, and I know we're kind of over time, but
I'll send some information out. Basically, it's just I'm working on some musical tournaments. Why do athletes get all the tournaments? They get all the money, they get all the tournaments, they get all the teams. That's what I say. We're going to just have a basic week-long and month-long, some only a day-long tournaments in music technology. So obviously Piano Marvel and practice minutes is going to be one of the one of the first ones, but I'm also going to have some other, so MuseScore, we'll do some music, MuseScore. MuseScore, Theta, ear training, Sasser for sure. But we still have to work out a little bit on registration, and it will be ready to go by Monday. If you guys leave your info in the chat, I will send it to you beforehand, so you can prepare your students and hopefully have a handful. There'll be age groups as well. So for Piano Marble, I will have like a beginners tournament and an intermediate tournament and an advanced tournament. And if I can round up enough old favors, I will also have a professional one, which will be a nail biter.
Yeah. So, and this week-long tournament is more to see how engaged the Piano Marvel community will be in watching what's going on. And then we might roll it out in a bigger format if everybody loves it. Tabea wasn't here. We are looking for representatives from other countries. So countries can be representative. So if you or someone you know wants to represent, see, I'm confused. Is it Spain or Switzerland? Or
Yeah, we have bets. Actually, I do.
More or less, yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, whatever you prefer.
So
Okay.
you are in Switzerland?
No, right now I'm in Spain.
Okay.
Oh, Chantel said, "Hey Karen, send me the info for the tournament, please, when you get it."
Ah, yes. Okay, I'm just gonna make sure that I save this and I'll know who's after it.
Okay. Anybody else have anything to say before we close?
So you are looking for country representatives for Piano Marvel, or
just for a week-long tournament where it's practice
tournament?
minutes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's. I mean, we're just kind of trying it out. It's an experiment, and it's for the competitive in nature. This particular one.
And this tournament, how will this work? Like we will play a week, every day a piece, or? It's
Karen Faye will send out the details, right? But
okay.
Yeah, right now the all week long, Monday through Friday is a double red robin. So every team gets to play the other team twice. So we all get to know each other. Hopefully people are chatting along and making, online gamer piano friends. And
we're going to be shooting live stuff from people who are playing so that we can share it.
Yeah, and then on the last day, the Saturday, that will be the main tournament day. We have in the morning would just be one last round, and then the biggest numbers from there will play through a knockout phase just in one day. That way, the people that make it to the knockout phase have already done so much. They're not going to be discouraged by they're already being highlighted, but we didn't want to have a knockout phase for the young ones because nobody likes getting knocked out of anything, and we want to make sure everyone has emotional maturity to be knocked out on Saturday, right?
Well, and also we're looking for, it does not matter It does not matter your age or your expertise. It matters who is a very good at just putting in the time. Like
minutes.
There's minutes. This particular tournament is about minutes. So if you have a student that is a rock star with minutes, or if you're like, yeah, I'll represent, that's what we're looking for.
Okay. And also, I'm just saying, but I'm not sure yet, but possibly one of the knockout rounds, it might be a Sasser. I don't know. We don't know.
Details are being determined. We will let you know.
To be continued.
Yes, the suspense. And any other questions, thoughts? Okay, Michelle, I think
a good discussion.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Really nice
thank you,
everybody.
Thank you, Chantel, for coming up with the topic for today. I hope it was helpful for everybody. I know I learned a lot, and are things that I'm going to be trying to incorporate into my very relaxed system. So maybe I'll try to have a little more organization. But thank you guys for all of your ideas.
I do have something else I want to slip in there. I totally forgot. So the reason I only go on the trophy case for 1 month is because I've had students that hit a wall because they progress so fast. And when you spend time in a challenge or performance or other things, they don't realize that they're progressing and they're going to be ready to jump back into the trophy case. It's like a trickery thing.
Yes, I agree with that. Sometimes they need a little break away from it, and then they progress quickly again. Yeah,
Right. That's all.
I agree. Cool. Well, thank you, everybody. If you guys want to continue this, like Chantel, I know you have more questions now. The Facebook group, that would be a great place to discuss those things. So if you can ask your questions on there, I will definitely be watching that, and hopefully we can all watch that and kind of continue to give each other ideas and answers and stuff.
Yeah, and add them to the forum too. We'll keep bringing them up
Yeah.
there too.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Mwah, mwah.
Have a great
Thanks,
week.
everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.